Love. What's up, beautiful people? It's your girl, it's Leanne. I'm getting blissed out. It's always spontaneity. It's always love. It's another 8-week program, success, um, transformation, interaction with my dear friend, Ravi Kaler from Osoyas.
Call me Ravi.
Ravi, Ravi.
Ravi.
So, friends,
Um,
we've known each other since about 2009.
Maybe a bit later. Yeah,
Oh, no,
around there. We'll say
2011.
around there.
2011. It's
11. Yeah,
2011.
11 sounds better. Yeah.
In Guilford Mall.
Yeah. Yeah, back in the day.
Back in the days, I was
Yeah.
sending out Osho meditation flyers about teaching Osho meditation that time after my sannyas. And, just telling people a little bit about what happened when we first met.
So at this point in my life, 2011, I was not very aware of like energy or anything. But so actually two things happened during that time. Um, I'll share this one first, actually. So yeah, I just met Leanne and she walked in and she just had this like energy and I just like I felt something and I was like, okay, and then you at the time I used to think that you were absolutely bonkers. It's like, how does this lady have so much energy? Like she's just like million miles an hour all the time. But the beautiful thing is like you never change. You're always the same. You're always uh going at that speed. And then as I develop more with my energy, I started to really appreciate you and appreciate how you operate and that yang, the fire. Like you're really fiery. But yeah, back to that time. Yeah, I just met her and she gave me this little pamphlet and I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go see her. And so yeah, then we hung out and we hung out a few times and then we kind of just it was kind of a slow burn. Like our relationship just kind of developed. And yeah, there were some ups and downs, but I really don't know how all of this happened, but we've become dear friends and we're one of those people where I can call you for anything, you can call me for anything. We say what's on our mind, what's on our heart. And, that's pretty beautiful because everyone needs a few of those friends in our life, and you're definitely one of them.
Yeah, and I think we grew through all of our own madnesses too. Like the development between 2011 and my journey, even after 10 years, was starting meditation at age 15, then 19, my first samadhi, and then my journey with ashram living, and then my journey with sannyas living, and just like knowing my calling at the same time, maintaining two kids. And you guys were so giving, friends. Like I go into this store where he's working, the source, and one of the other colleagues that were there had all of a sudden had all these games and just offered me a bag of games for my kids. And so we talk about miracles and how they're all around us all the time. Meditation in the 8-week program is just getting out of the way so that you can observe more of all the good things that are unfolding for you moment to moment. How to deal with the dualities of the mind, where we have those dualities of the positive, negative, and how to work with methodologies that stem and center us into a state of centeredness or what we call wholeness. And so this 8-week program, Ravi, we started in Vancouver because he lives in Soyuz and he had a chance to come in and do dynamic. Very important part of the 8-week program was the purge, the first purge. And we've been meeting online ever since, but just the accountability and utilizing these tools to be a part of all the other unfolding in the last couple months. So yeah, maybe you can talk a little bit about your process with meeting and utilizing the tools and how they've been helping you.
So yeah, I have a few things to say about that. The first one, the tools they're quick. They're like boom, 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 boom. They're just like Julian. Boom, 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 boom. So yeah, in the 8 weeks, there was quite a big transformation, quite a big shift, and we'll probably get into it a little bit later in the conversation. Um, but yeah, that first purge is beautiful. Can I share kind of what it is?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah.
So the first purge is like it's a lot of shaking, yelling, screaming, and it's like we were in a very safe space and I was able to actually just, express myself fully, like uninhibited. And so Leanne, you held a really good space and we were in that I think it's called 333 energy. We were in that studio and we were actually able to like really let loose and really just like yell, scream, do whatever we want, bang on the ground, with no judgment. And that really was like a huge cathartic purge because like, in our modern life, we're so serious and like how many times do we just get to like act crazy? Because that's what we're doing. We're just acting crazy.
Mm,
And so that after that big cathartic release, it led us into a meditation where we actually got to sit and be still. And yeah, it was beautiful. And these methods seem to be very carefully crafted and collected in a very specific way. So yeah, I'm very curious to explore them further, but they seem to be really good for like letting things go.
mm. And the most important thing, friends, of the 8-week program is a journey within your own subtle body with how yoga works, how you can look through these layers and just observe. And the key was witnessing for the 8-week program because that took me my first aha moment with my Zen master after starting yoga at age 15 was being with many other modalities other than yoga to balance what I was getting in yoga. So the big purge in the what Osho calls the Trimurti is music, mathematics, and meditation. So having that natural sound in yoga of Om or Omkar, when we utilize sound, which is kind of creating itself through instruments and through creation as a natural connection to this existence in nature, we actually get to draw back into nature through that purge. And so, a lot of what's being taught in yoga that we learn about with our energy bodies, chakras, koshas, vayus, nadis, um, and then kundalini, and what all of these lead to in 8 limbs into yoga. Those three keys that the other dynamic work that mixes in with the yoga really speed up the process to observe what is my nadis because they're amplifying dynamic work, which could take a lot longer in sitting in yoga for long periods of time or developing to actually help yoga. And that's why I merged them both because they were two massive tools in my life that helped me see each other. They actually helped me to see each other, and which more even helps me to expand into more when it comes to, other aspects of Tantra. So having that opportunity in the first week, Ravi, with you, for me, I just love being in an atmosphere where when we hold space to be cathartic or deeply breathe or connect to our hara, our death center, we're actually transforming all of those blockages that we keep telling ourselves, whether it's repressed ancestral trauma, whether it's um, something about a previous job, whether it's a relationship, and all of these things that are already left our life, they're not even here anymore, can leave the mind. So the methods were designed in order to do that, to help you to enter into a state of no mind. So how did
Hmm.
you feel when you did the dynamic? Did you feel you entered into a state of no mind?
Yeah, every single one. Every single one was uh, like a doorway into that. Like even the spinning was one that was really interesting.
Mm. Yeah, so that's your heaven and your earth. So the merging of that Shiva Shakti awareness too, even Rumi, like Shiva Shakti meaning Father Sky, Mother Earth, the cosmic consciousness merging, the feminine, the masculine within us. And what happens when they merge into the pineal gland? That experience, that euphoria, that feeling, that openness, that expansion of our energy. And so in whirling, that same thing as a child, like we're connecting to this divine energy as children, but then we come with layers of ankaras, or we're called layers of life karmas that we're choosing or choosing for us, and then we're believing we're this. So these methods help us to come out like, well, if I'm not that, who am I? Oh, I'm this observer of all this, so I can pick and choose my battles. But the big difference, audience, is having the right methods to feel free from your problems.
Yes.
Because if you are not using the right methods to feel free from your problems, you'll still be entangled in the dialogue with your problem. And that's not who we are. We are completely giving all this energy to this problem. But a very big part of our desires is to long and to desire, or to heal, or to expect. So anything else you want to reflect on the week? So we had, you know, from all your chakras, working on your sacral, working on your breath work, each breath work every week, sound therapy. And then, whether you're sitting and humming or you're breathing into your chakras or you're doing the dance, da 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 dum, and then whirling or natraj, just a full expression of dance and like allowing yourself to do that through instrumental music, not emotional music.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice the difference with that? Like where it's just instrumental, not emotional?
What do you mean by instrumental, not emotional?
So when there's no words attached to the music or for the therapy, there is something that we deal with ourselves in.
Oh, I think it's easier to get into flow.
This is
Because
a
like
very
I
good
think
point.
because I think then like with an instrumental we oh this sounds very poetic, but when we dance to an instrumental we become the music.
Mm,
We're the instrument. We're the music that's playing. And that's what I love about instrumental music. I've never put it that way. That's yeah.
mm,
But yeah, so like when I was doing those like going through the instrumental, especially the shoo, shoo, I noticed that very quickly I was getting into a flow. I was getting into um like it's almost like I wasn't the one moving. I was like watching the movement
Now I could bring
because
up a
there's like,
challenging question in this moment too. Why is it that every day, or why this program could be resourceful for people to be an ongoing support for themselves? Why is it that every day they're still affected by those chakras and they're still clearing while life is happening, right? Why do we need a method?
well, I think so this gets into like some pretty deep stuff. So there's that book called The Body Keeps the Score. So a lot of us like came up through childhood and went through all of our life and we never even knew to pay attention to our body. All of our attention was external. So now here we are, and usually it's like some sort of crisis happens in our life. For me, it was many crises, and it focuses us and forces us to look inside
Mm,
because it's like, okay, there's something going on in here that I don't know. And then once we start to open that door, it's like, oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. There's stuff here from my childhood. There's stuff here from adolescence, from high school. There's all these unprocessed things. There's all these things that I didn't know about myself. And so that starts this process of uncovering. And then you're just like, well, then who am I?
mm,
And that's a long journey. It's a
To hear the
lifelong
voice,
journey
to hear the voice of who am I, or to connect to the consciousness, which we call the chitta gyan,
to
to
find
understand
out,
who am I.
to find out, to start the process of actually finding out. Because, you ask the question, that's just the first domino.
Mm,
And then why do we need, so the original question is why do we need methods or why do we need a practice?
mm,
I think a lot of us try and look for answers outside of ourselves.
mm,
So we try and find a guru, or we try and find some shaman, or we try and find some energy worker, or something out there to kind of like fix our problems, right? Because like, that's how it's always been, right? You go to mom, mom fixes your problem. You go to dad, dad fixes your problem. Teacher does, and so there's never any really accountability or responsibility.
mm,
But then once you have a method or once you have a practice, it's all up to you.
mm,
So you're taking charge of your own destiny,
mm. So good.
right?
And the reality that we are talking about, audience, is life cannot exist without the dualities. And so even no matter how much I've already had a full merge inside, and I know the knowledge now of the glimpses of what's been going on within my body for 30 years and why I teach the way I do, because I'm on this journey to make sure that more people can reach what is already happening to me and more to come, to make a great lifestyle, to make a great awareness on having what we call purpose. Purpose meaning something that could be beneficial to a conscious way of living. And what I have beneficial is the power of presence that these tools can give us when we're dealing with life, when we're dealing with either reaction or responding, and responding more and being a part of love, loving my friend. This is a long friendship. And then the support that Ravi's having for me what's he doing in the world? He's like a Qigong master. He's going in through his Chinese medicine and he's doing work where even he could touch my body and he could remove pain within seconds. And this is a big deal for me who I associate with. Anybody that's available to do programs, I'm available to. But my friends that have been dear to me, the inspiration of what we start off with, the ideal dream goal in week one, Ravi's ready to make 10,000 a month. So that means listeners, it's up to you to reach Ravi for Qigong or for a healing medicine or to be heard. And that's really what
Hmm.
I'm doing here. The communal vision of my masters in these techniques is that we are one. We are one unity. But what keeps us every day further away from this vision is our reaction to life or our reaction to our pain and suffering of attachment. And the techniques are there to show you how a finer body, accept, observe your body, love your body, create something, trust in miracles again. Because the energy
Hmm.
that's creating us from this knowledge is offering us every opportunity to have a thought and a solution to our next situation with life.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
during this time, there's the embodiment of what you do and who you are, but throughout this process, maybe you can also share some vulnerability with the audience of some major things that you felt you healed.
First of all, I want to say that I know you call me the Qigong master, but I say I'm just a beginner. I'm because I'm 30 years of practice, then I can call myself a master. So I'm getting started on the journey, and yeah, I know a few things, and I have a lot to share with the world, but I say I'm just beginning still.
Mm.
Um, okay, so so as an Indian man, uh, there's quite a bit of similar, we'll say, conditioning or programming. And one thing with us boys is we're all mama's boys, right? Um, but those relationships can sometimes be a bit dysfunctional,
Mm.
because and there's lots of compassion here. I'm not ever blaming my mom for X, Y, and Z. Our parents just weren't taught like we were. They never had internet. They never had any knowledge. They just did what their parents did, and they made a little bit of improvements. Do you know what's funny is like I was talking to my dad one day, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, like, why did you beat my ass?" And he's just like, "Do you know what that does to like the nervous system and blah blah blah." And I was going off on him because I was learning one or two things, right? I was lack of compassion at the time, and he said something really funny to me, and it was really true. He's like, "I made a big improvement." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I used to catch my dad doing things that were not good, and then he would beat me." He's like, "I only beat you when you were doing bad things."
Oh.
And I started laughing at him, and I started laughing in the moment too. And I was just like, "You know what, Dad? You're right. That is a big improvement." And
Mhm.
because he was doing his best, and my mom was doing her best too, right?
Mhm. Yeah, love's a big deal. Love's a big deal where everybody has been kind of like working between their emotions of the lower scale to the higher scales. And we talk about that in the third week between the downward spiral and the upward spiral that we all have a choice with. Now, the pure observation that these tools do, they give us an opportunity to observe on deeper levels, harness our center deeper, so that when the anger comes up, we hear the consciousness first that's looking through us before we react. And that's what saves us on this path. Now, if we can grab that consciousness before we react based on habit or conditioning, it just takes the discipline of showing up to your yoga, your dynamic work, or your tantra. However, you're in your pleasure or your discipline, because we're all in pleasures and disciplines in balance, how we're working with those in a loving way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, and then yeah, definitely. How do we work with those in a loving way? So one thing that I can share, and so a lot of my life, because a lot of us we never had really good examples of how to, let's say relate authentically to another human. And
Mm,
so I spent a lot of time being celibate. I spent a lot of time just meditating and, learning to get to know myself. Because one of my goals is like I didn't want to hurt the people that I loved anymore. And
mm,
that was been my main goal because, I had some relationships that didn't end very well.
mm,
And it's one of the things that forced me to look inside, right?
mm,
And so that gets to something where Leanne, you played a pretty pivotal role in, and that's sometimes we have to find friends that are a good example for us. And for me, I had a pretty hard mother wound.
mm,
And before we started this like 8-week program, I remember sitting at that one table with you, Leanne, and you just looked at me and you were in your flow and you were just saying all these things and you looked at me with this very fierce gaze and you're like, by the end of this 8 weeks, I have the tool for that mother wound and we're gonna
mm,
get through it. And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't even really know what that wound was. And it's really funny how these things work because like it's something kind of from childhood that's kind of silly. Like you wouldn't realize that it would create such a huge wound. But when you're a child and you're 3 or 4 and you have a situation where mom's not present or maybe mom beat your ass or something, who knows? It creates kind of like a fracture and then there's a part of us that kind of gets left back there. But the crazy part is like that child runs the show.
mm,
It literally runs the show until you go there and you have the courage to go there and sit with that child and feel that pain and really understand and integrate. And this gets into something called like in internal family systems, it's called like parts therapy where we're rescuing parts of ourselves and bringing them back and integrating them.
mm,
But yeah, this is actually just I'm putting the final pieces on this today and there was an aspect of myself that really just needed love. And, sometimes we are too hard on ourselves and we beat ourselves up. And, we have this stick that we walk around just whacking ourselves with every time we do something wrong. And so sometimes we have to find people in our life that, will give us that love and will share that love until we're ready to give it to ourselves.
mm. So do you feel you at least got through the mother wound and do you have for forgiveness?
Well, the word that I would use is compassion.
Mm,
Because, and I'll define it in a way as well. Because this is Buddhist culture. It's all about compassion. We could take the whole Tibetan Buddhism and we could sum it all up in one word, and that word's compassion.
mm,
My teacher says compassion means to suffer with. And I agree there, but it's kind of hard if he defines it that way. So we'll do a little kind of like a practical exercise.
mm,
So there's a Tibetan exercise called Tonglen, and I might butcher it a little bit because I'm not a Buddhist, like officially or anything. Um, but this is the way I understand it. So we first start with like feel into your life somebody who you feel gave you unconditional love.
mm,
And so I'm gonna close my eyes and just like wait for that feeling. And for me, it's always the same person. It's my grandma. My grandma on my mom's side.
oh, I
She just
know.
embodied that unconditional love.
Oh,
And if we're ever in trouble or like we could always go to grandma, right? And
mm,
so the first step is to invoke a feeling of unconditional love,
mm,
right? So we have that feeling. Okay, yeah, there it is. And you'll know because you'll start smiling.
mm,
And then we use that unconditional love to sit with our pain,
mm,
right? So a lot of the times when we have something like pain, maybe inside, we don't know how to deal with it. We try and fight it. We try and become a spiritual warrior and go to war with it. And we try all these different ways of dealing with it. And it comes back to one thing. And this will get you through most of your journey, if not all of your journey. And the
mm,
word is compassion,
mm,
is to sit with humility and
mm,
to sit with our pain and feel it,
mm,
but have love in our heart while we do it.
mm.
Now that takes time and it takes practice, and it doesn't happen right away, but that's a good place to start.
Well, it's a psychological shift anyways, too, where we have like the brain can only process so much in a timeline. That's why I do this program in a couple months because you want to be able to practice some of the modalities at least for a week. And then this is like 30 years of my work where I went totally in each one, sometimes 3 months at a time, a year at a time, right? So there's enough in this 8 weeks, friends, where um take a chance on yourself. And if things like mother trauma or the things that Ravi's already healing work, there's going to be a method in here for you. And we just want to invite you to a sacred place, a safe place where we share modalities that the Ascended Masters have given me to get through this process. And that's my service to myself and to humanity. And it's so grateful to be with you, Ravi, because trusting me and moving forward, I just want to see you fill your pockets while you take your basic level, you say, of Qigong. And friends, I have seen his level. He's a master. But that's the humility. It's his humility of the standards. And I follow the standards too. I got right now 500 more hours. I'll be at my 2,000 hours of teaching and I'll be able to certify even more levels. So the joy is, even in our mastery, we're still mastering. And that's the joy of loving what you do and shine with it bright. And that's my prayer for you with deep insight is to
Mm.
take some of these modalities that you learn with me, continue to do what you do best that you can do, and spread your love far and wide.
Aho.
Okay. So if you need to reach me, friends, make sure you direct message me. New website's up by the new year, working on those contents. We have Shiva Shakti Yoga, shedding into soul culture. We got Shiva Shakti Reiki, Shiva Shakti music coming soon. New location in Surrey, just finalized the key today. We'll have early morning programs there too. And Vancouver 3 Energy, even though it's got triple threes, it's a 3 energy. It's a trinity of us trying to come together to commune with modalities for bettering ourselves and the community. And we look forward to having Ravi as our guest sometime to teach us some Qigong and any of the modalities that his soul is called to support you on your journey, meeting this beautiful soul and my divine brother.
Hey, hey.
Thanks for showing up today. And you have a wonderful day. Keep doing what you're doing, and blessings to you and your mother and the healing and forgiveness.
Yeah, and blessings to everyone else on their journey, anyone that's watching or listening and sharing. Um, sometimes these challenges can be quite challenging. So, just from my heart to yours, just blessings to you on your journey and may you be whole.
Mm. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you.